All right, all right, all right. Let those notifications go out. Oh, yes, 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 yes. All right, everybody. Yes, more God revelation. Remember, during the detox, y'all, those of us who are on it, I'm going to go ahead and say, excuse me, pardon me, uh, all of that in case one belch slips out here and there. And you know what? We don't need to be embarrassed, but it's a detoxing part of the the natural part of the process. But we got messages for y'all, and we're not going to allow the detox process to stop us from getting up here and giving you all these messages. Okay, and so basically, yeah, that's just what's going to happen. So, again, I apologize. Excuse me, pardon me if a little bit of a belch slips out. We're on this journey together, okay? Detox takes time, all right? It is a process. And now for myself, I have an additional thing going on, right? Okay, so we got a little bit more working, okay? Workings going on in here. All right, and I've got a couple of new revelations for you all that, oh, wow, yeah, has to do with our autonomic nervous system. Because let me tell y'all something. That thing, oh, it is our inner child. Just bear with me. We're going to get to that. But chosen one, okay, we've got several things to chat about today. And chosen one, our long-term solution seekers. Yeah, we don't do the instant, just put a band-aid on it. No, that's that black and white thinking of the fallen world. We don't do that. Remember, at Consulting for Heightened Awareness, CHA, right, we operate under the solution approach, which is the true trauma-informed approach. It is the correct way. Yes, okay, that comes from my trauma training with the Arizona Trauma Institute, is that we utilize the salutogenic approach, meaning we focus on the overall health and well-being. And I include the spiritual health, mental health, physical health, everything, okay? All of it, because there's no one-size-fits-all solution to trauma healing. No, we could share similar things. Now, the detox process from the trauma and radio frequency poisoning is going to be very similar in a lot of ways for all of us, okay? Depending on our circumstances. But basically, when our bodies get used to something, right, okay, it's just the way it is, the biological side of things. So we're going to get to talk about that. And we're going to talk more about, the being a problem solver. Yes, hello. Happy Sunday to you too as well, Chris. Thank you. And remember, the live chat and then the comments on the replay are for you all as well to interact with one another. Right? It's not just one side of here. It's for all of us. This is an all-inclusive community, a growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ. So let me go ahead and get these formalities out of the way for the algorithms, okay? Thank you for understanding. I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Let's Just Chat show, streaming on the YouTube channel, Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center, while combating radio frequency poisoning for healthier living. Trauma healing and spiritual growth occur with God's wisdom, basic scientific facts, tried and true technique, and more here and at CHA Academy, btbw.com. The link to the Academy is listed below for quicker access. Some of y'all may need to copy and paste the link to view what CHA Academy, btbw.com, offers to help you level up your trauma healing and spiritual growth. And so for those who are not familiar, and for those who need a reminder, we now have How the Trauma Bond is Formed, highly recommended, the 5P coaching course, How to Deal with Toxic Coworkers, and now How to Detox from Trauma Nutrition course. And so along with that, okay, along with the nutrition course, okay, the detoxing one, I will be adding fun fact videos with additional points and things to continue the learning. Listen, y'all, at Consulting for Heightened Awareness, CHA Academy is an e-learning community where the learning never stops. We are getting God's wisdom now. We are purging that subconscious of the worldly garbage as part of our trauma healing, right? And in my case, it's the physical side. Okay? Yeah, so that's it. Because we are spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically, we're good. But it's just the enemy had to try and re-traumatize my autonomic nervous system. Okay? I'm dropping y'all little C's here and there, but all of this about the ANS that we're discovering, I'm bringing it to y'all because it's intense. It is intensive. And it, okay, yes, it is mind-blowing, some of these things, and it just makes a lot more sense every single day to get that heightened awareness, to get more clarity, because when I pray before eating, I always say, this is for y'all, okay? You can use this. This is not vain repetition praying. It is saying, thank you, Heavenly Father, for the food I'm about to receive, for continued mental and physical strength, and above all else, mental acuity, as you continue to deliver us out from this evil. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay? And for those who need the definition of acuity, it just means clarity. All right? So that's the thing. Okay? And I make sure we do it before we eat. Whatever it is, we're going to eat. Now, sometimes I'm a little slack when it comes to a snack, but it is what it is. And I want y'all to know that we do Chosen One, okay? Spiritual Warriors for Christ. That's right. We are always seeking long-term solutions because we know that the evildoers want to hang on to the same old problems, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. On the world stage with the P Matrix, same old problems over and over again, right? Yeah, we had the same old over and over again. Same old battles, right? Same old things that get people riled up, right? And tricks a lot of people, including ourselves. I had to cut ties with several organizations. In other words, I had to stop supporting them because they are part of the game of narcissism. Think about that. Okay? They don't want the problem solved. Okay, inside the fallen world. They don't, because they need to hang on to it because it continues to get negative emotional reactions out of people. Okay, yes, it does. It continues to get them riled up. It continues to deceive them. And so they're sitting on the edge of their seat while all of the, you know what I'm talking about, the actors, right, continue to future fake, right? Yep. Dangling that carrot. In the game of narcissism. So all of them that are conformed to this world are just going to sit on the edge of the couch and wait patiently for a man or a woman to come save them. That's insane. Only Jesus saves. We know this, Chosen One. But they don't know that. They don't know anything else. And I'm going to remind you, these narcissists out here don't want to know anything else. And just a heads up for all of y'all, God has it on my spirit that we have lots and lots of content to help you all get educated about narcissists and the game of narcissism and things like that. Right? And we will continue to apply that or mention it where applicable, just like that moment. However, God wants us to get motivational more. Okay? God wants us to continue preaching his word, coaching more or less, more often, consulting and coaching. And then also to answer your question, all right, about these things. Because we are, let's face it, we are having to navigate through the narcissistic matrix. Right, it is what it is. And so now we become aware of it. But God says we need to start delivering additional messages, not breaking away from completely, discussing the evil behaviors because we're supposed to expose those. But God says we've got plenty of content. For those who are just now learning about narcissism and the evildoers, this YouTube channel is full of content about the red flag, breaking trauma bond, adapting to the new spiritual norm, how to know when you're fully healed, Oh my gosh. Okay. We've got tons of content for wherever you are at. You know, how God reveals it on the individual level. Oh, that's a narcissist. Okay. And then in the workplace, and then our own biological families, then we start to spot them out in public. Okay. So it's a process. And so for wherever you are at, we have videos, we have content on this channel and elsewhere. Okay. So don't forget the My Social page. Okay, CAJ social platform is the easiest way for y'all to catch all the content across all social that we're on. That's in the video description below for quicker access. Okay, that's the My Social page of our website. And you can see where we're at on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, because I will put similar promo videos. Okay, I'll put the same promo video out across, okay, when we do those. But a lot of times we diversify. We'll give similar messages across all social. And, you know, that's just the way we want to keep a variety going. All right. Reminders here, reminders there. So you might hear me discuss chosen one being problem solvers in a 90-second reel for Facebook. Okay. And I'll have it messaged a certain way. And then say a month or two later, God puts it back on my spirit and I do a short reel for TikTok, but the message is a little different, even though it means the same thing. You see? So we're trying to be versatile that way, but we'll make sure everybody gets the messages when God puts it on our spirit. So like this one, as chosen one, we seek long-term solutions, whereas the evildoers out here don't really want anything solved. They like their problems because the problem that they are hanging on to gives them the chaos and the drama that they want. Chosen ones, we walk away. And I'm going to share with you, I remember telling one of the psycho case study, the ex-roommate psycho case study. I remember telling him at the workplace and his pretend mistress. Oh, y'all know. For those of you who have not heard or read about that story, you'll find it in Real Events Narcissistic Abuse. It's hilarious. Okay, because he thought, whatever. Anyway, see the fantasies in their head. Anyway, I remember telling him because the pretend mistress was trying to get in there in our storage room. I was a lead cleaning lady, is what I was. Okay, so for a small family-owned vacation property. So there were, it was houses, you know, but they had, they were neat. They were cozy. Even I stayed there sometimes when I had to clean the next morning or what have you. And it was really peaceful and really quiet. So it's a great place. And so I remember the pretend mistress. Well, I could not train her. I told her, I said, you got to find something else for her to do because this is not for her. She can't, no. And so to go in and mess stuff up in the storage area and things like that. And when I told him, I was like, okay, I don't know what she's doing. I said, but you know I don't like chaos. And he's like, yeah, I know. Like all of the evildoers do when we tell them something like, we don't do chaos. And they don't like the fact that chosen one, as we continue to evolve and grow and mature like we're supposed to, we don't want anything to do with chaos and drama. Because that's an icky, ewy, adrenaline. Ugh. Okay, we don't want that. Right, we got the peace, the joy, happiness, right? The God love on the inside. That's what we're after. And we don't. Well, how are we going to protect all of that? No, we don't want anything to do with their chaos and drama. And so I remember having to tell my biological dad that the reason I don't associate with another family member is for there's always chaos and drama surrounding them. And I'm like, I don't want no part of it. He understood that. Okay, he understood. Because I'm not going to allow myself to get caught up in all that mess. Same thing for y'all. We learn. We don't allow ourselves to get caught up. So let's say somebody comes to us, right, and we identify that they are, they're not one of us, and they start giving us all this stuff telling us this, telling us that, right? Typically, it would be an evildoer, and it get very chaotic and dramatic, right? And we're like, So we make the choice to not allow ourselves to get involved in that situation because it's not our burden. God tells us in his word that every man shall bear their own burden, right? Okay, there you go. These evildoers want us to take on their burden. We give it back to them. That's right. That's one big way we solve that problem right there for the long term. Give it back to them. Somebody put that in the comments below. We say, give it back to them. Give it back to them. We don't want it. So that's it. Yeah, chaos and drama for them, not for chosen one. We are long-term. Okay, long-term solution seekers. So, yes. Well, I'm going to get into that, Chris. I'm going to get into that about the autonomic nervous system, that how it is our inner child, because it is very childish, very childlike. And so we're going to get into that a little bit. Yeah. And there you go. That's the other reason why. We give them their chaos and drama back. We give it back to them because it does. It will literally, drain our energy. And that's what it used to do. And we don't allow that to happen anymore because we are aware of it now. And so, yeah, your private life. Okay, yeah, drama, baby, leave me out. That's right. There you go. Return. That's it. Yep. Give it back to them. Return to sender. Absolutely. That's another way of rebuking in Jesus' name when you think about it. So we go, okay. We're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to play their game. We see right through what it is they're trying to do. Poke and prod. Right? Okay. The chosen one. When we identify that something needs a solution, we look for a long-term solution. Because, we don't want the problem to keep reoccurring. Right? Yeah, that would be what they want. The problem to reoccur. Chosen ones were like, no, we're going to solve this. And it's going to be long-term. We seek the long-term solution. Because remember, God is an everlasting God. That's right. Remember, we covered some of that in the book of John, chapter 5, yesterday. And so, right, well, we learned that, everlasting life with God for those who believe Jesus and believe on Jesus, in Jesus. So, and in the name, that's included, very important. So we learned that, that they want problems. We don't. We solve them for the long term. And so that can be anything, really. And so but sometimes it takes several different tries to find it. That's the thing. But we don't give up. All right, there you go. Chosen ones are long-term. Okay, yes, long-term solution seekers. We don't want to keep putting band-aids on it. And no, see, that is the, let me see if I can remember what they taught. That is the pathogenesis approach. That black and white. Right? That's how the devil views humanity, okay, as an object, right? Okay, so you go somewhere to get treatment or what have you, right? If there's an issue that you need some services, all right? You go and you get it. A lot of times, what do? That's right, slap a Band-Aid on it and they call it fixed. What? Instead of trying to figure out and get to the underlying what caused it, so that we can find a long-term solution. Just like we discovered radio frequency poisoning cause for a lot of things we experience. Yeah, and not what the world tried to tell us. Right? As our body detoxes from that, we experience symptoms that have been associated with stuff that does not exist. And so that's part of renewing the mind is Jesus cleans everything. See, when a fellow minister told me that, because I had asked him about There's some people who are still holding on to the Old Testament food guide, if you will. Yeah. And so I said, well, how's that going to work? Because several of those food items are on the approved list for my blood type diet. And he came back and goes, yeah, he said, a lot of people get stuck in the Old Testament ways like that. He said, but Jesus cleaned everything. And he cleans everything. I said, oh, that makes sense. Because, right, yeah, I mean, remember, Jesus died on the cross, and that flipped a lot of stuff. And so now we understand better why the enemy and his minions are obsessed with external cleanliness. Because when we've got the Godhead on the inside of us, we got to get right with God, right? How do we do that? Through that inner work. Yeah. Remember, it's right here on my bookmark. Right? In Psalm 51:10. Right? It says, create in me a clean heart, O God. Renew a right spirit within me. Evildoers don't have a clue what that means. They don't know. The chosen one, we go through that. It's part of the spiritual rebirth and being born again in spirit. So we pull the beam out of our own eye, right? We recognize the moot in our own eye, hold ourselves accountable. Right? We don't play the blame shifting game. All right? If we make a mistake, we make it right. If we make a mistake, we make it right. Let me be clear. Because that's how we go, oh, okay. It's also how we learn, right? That's how we learn lessons. And we don't let ourselves get all caught up in it and feeling ashamed or anything like that. We don't have to. Remember, Jesus said we don't need to be ashamed of nothing. Because we are made in God's perfect image. Just the way he intended for us to be. And so, exactly, that's the point. Why would you go for a short-term solution when you're going to have to find a new solution when the current short-term solution runs out? Exactly. And the problem comes back. Yeah, why would you do that? Short-term it's the problem with the political matrix, constant short-term fixes, which are just kicking the can down the road, leaving a mess for future generations. Exactly. Think about it. Okay, that is the game of narcissism on the world stage right there. That's matrix. And so, of course, they're going to do that. Just like we learned that the evildoers on the individual level, after we finally got away and stuff like that, boy, how much of a mess did we have to clean up? Oh, yeah. Exactly. Like the ex-psycho roommate. I mean, I had to replace everything all the way down to my guitar because he tampered with stuff, trying to keep me electrocuted even in the new environment. Not really a new environment, but where I had to relocate. Oh, yeah, RFID tag that needed Wi-Fi connectivity to radio frequency, to little metal magnets, right, that were holding in electricity, radio frequency, because when I would touch it in an old safe that I had, the little metal thing, and when I touched it, it was, ooh, okay, I felt that. Oh my goodness, yes, all kinds of things. So I had to replace my devices, computer, phone, I had to replace everything. It was quite the mess to clean up. And that's just to give y'all perspective. Because they do. They leave a trail of destruction behind them for us to have to clean up. And so the other one is from that Jezebel case study. I had a little bit of cleaning up that had to be done. Reorganizing. That's right. And so even with that case study, I had a little bit of things, but I got the notes. that I needed. I got the confirmation that I needed. I got the lesson that God needed me to learn. Okay? So I can share them with y'all. And so we learn, definitely do not. And I mean, do not. Yeah, see, I noticed that when we let people know that we don't participate in politics, they drop off. Okay, we do not participate in that matrix. We don't play that game anymore. Not at Consulting for Heightened Awareness. Now, if some of y'all, when you catch this, you still playing the game, that's you. I ain't passing no judgment. I know if you've got kids, you may not have a choice, but because I don't, so I don't play games. And not only that, it is narcissistic abuse on the societal level. And I understand that we all go through a season where we have to learn that. But if people drop off when they find out we're not part of that anymore, it's fine. But it needs to be known. And so every once in a while I need to remind people that we don't have that. That's why you'll see on Quora in the 2 spaces. Because politics is traumatization. It does not belong in a person healing. Because it is the very narcissistic abuse that the narcissist learn all of that from. Not only their own family dynamics, but on the societal level. Through that, they get trauma bonded to that matrix that keeps people divided, right? Divide and conquer. And so, yeah, when I learned about that, I was like, okay, I'm done. Yep, I'm done. We don't play. Locally or otherwise. I don't care. Because it's all staged. It's all part of it. Game of narcissism. Exactly. Yes, it is. There you go. It is a lie run by a bunch of liars. And we realize also that there's a lot of actors up there wearing silicone masks, right? That's deceiving a lot of people. Yeah, we know. You can look it up. That's not a secret. But because actors who can wear those silicone masks, it looks real, don't it? Especially when it's on television or the television, right? Yeah, it looks real. So we're like, okay. We walk away from that. And I know that there's others who have done the same. We walk away from that matrix and we find a community where iron sharpens iron, like at Consulting for Heightened Awareness inside our academy. And I do believe that I missed a word of the week for last week. But don't worry, we're getting back to that. Okay? I had to launch the course, so sometime, if I don't have it up there, I'll get it up there soon, but I do have one for this week. Okay? And remember, Sunday is the actual first day of the week. A lot of people, they don't know that. Chosen one, we find that out. But anyhow, that being said, we seek the long-term solution because a reoccurring thing. Now, mind you, there's services out here that we'll probably need to utilize, especially if it's included in our rent, okay, like pest control or other things. So we utilize that because, let's face it, on the first floor, and then there's some gaps, so every once in a while, but that's why it comes with our rent. So that is taken care of, though. Okay, there's no real long-term solution for that when you get the occasional visitor. There might be. I just haven't found it yet. Anyhow, let's go forward a little bit now, since we've covered that. And Yeah, a YouTube video of a silicone mask reveal, and the mask was so convincing that you wouldn't have believed it had you not seen it. Oh, I know. I've seen tons of those also, even over on Telegram. I know. Yeah, it's not a secret. But if they're sleeping, they would never come across that stuff. I was like, oh, wow. Just wow. And so now you wonder, oh, okay. But see, we could tell. There's ways to be able to tell. I know, but there are ways to tell. And it's usually going to be somewhere around the neck area. If we pay close attention to it as they move and talk or what have you. But I know it really is a mind-blowing thing when we learn about those silicone masks and how convincing they really are. Yeah, it is amazing. And and so we realized that on the world stage, that's what a lot of the politicians, they're actors wearing silicone masks. So it's like, okay, yeah, learn that down in the rabbit hole, and it takes a little while to sink in, because I do remember asking a question about one of those players of the game of narcissism on the world stage. I remember saying, how old is he? And how long has he been? Wait a minute. And then I learned about the silicone mask, and I went, oh, okay, so which actor is it wearing that mask today? That's what I started asking later on. I was like, oh, okay, so which one is it? which actor is wearing that one today? You know, it really is, it's amazing. Yeah, how convincing those things are. I know. It takes a while to sink in that the world is a stage and that we all can get into our purpose. There's plenty of room. And that the system of narcissism doesn't care what we do as long as it puts money in its pocket. Remember, the world had the love of money. It's the root of all evil, right? Oh, God knows that we need money to eat, pay our bill. That's right. He knows, and he will always provide. Yes, he does. And so for those of you who don't know, but CHA does take service grants. The PayPal link is below. And it's very easy from what I understand. It's easy peasy. And so thank you to all who have pledged service grant and to all who will. Everything goes back into the community. Obviously, we are a growing community of spiritual warriors for Christ at CHA. So that link is listed below for quicker access. Also, thank you to all who have left Google reviews and all who will. I highly appreciate that. To share a little something on our Google profile. That link is also listed below. Okay, so we can share with others how Consulting for Heightened Awareness is helping you, because we know it is, and we're thankful for that. That's the whole point. Iron sharpening iron, and giving you all a place to go where you have a voice. Remember all those years that we were silenced by these evildoers, told not to ask questions, right? Yeah, because that's the model of the Matrix, right? Is to sit down, obey, don't ask questions, while the tail light vision tells them what to eat, what to wear, while putting subliminal messages into that subconscious mind about things that are not real, a bunch of illusion on this world stage. But over time, they start to believe that, because that's how the devil's using perception management as a weapon. But we come to realize these things. And so, with the math, yeah, I used to ask that. Okay, so is that Mr. Woods up under there this time, or who is it? That's right. Anywho, because I don't even pay attention to that math. Because I will tell y'all something. We don't have to. Because once you walk away from that matrix and we stop playing the game of narcissism, I still get the notification. Okay, I still get the notification across my phone for Apple News. And I'm telling you, the headline, recycle. And so when one of them came across recently that had to do with the scamdemic. I was like, oh, that again? And you know why the enemy is prolonging that, right? Because the sleepers are still playing the game. As long as they keep playing the game, the enemy's going to keep on using it. Remember, he had nothing new. No new tricks. So as long as people continue to play, then he's going to prolong it. Because what does the fallen world? Yeah, he's going to prolong it as long as people keep playing along. So what does the fallen world need, right? Exactly what these evildoers and the devil feeds on. Pain and suffering. So it's like, I know that every once in a while, Jezebel will check in to see if I'm in pain and suffering like they would assume I should be when I'm not. So the thing is that, oh, okay. The joke is on the devil every single time when it comes to a chosen one. That's the point there too. Is that the joke is always on the devil when it comes to a chosen one. So exactly. They keep, there you go. Yeah, exactly. Lots of lots of news we don't need to know. That's right. And then this is spot on right here. They keep feeding the sleepers as long as the sleepers keep eating. Yep. That's it. Best way to put it right there. And so they don't know. They don't know anything else, and they won't know anything else. And the enemy won't let them know anything else, because when they become demonically possessed, that's it. That's it. Especially a Jezebel. When a Jezebel gets them, they are perfectly conformed to this world. So we want to keep that in mind. So now let's jump on into our autonomic nervous system for a few minutes or so, because God revealed this to me. Remember, I mentioned to y'all how our autonomic nervous system is dependent on our five senses. So, yes, hearing, seeing, smelling, touching, tasting. Here's a tip. Remember from the detox course, okay, you all, I want y'all to know, never forget that as you detox and you lower that sodium intake, your taste bud is going to fluctuate. So don't let the enemy trick you into thinking, let's say you made a green superfood juice the day before, and you had some, and you was, oh, good, okay, it's all good, you got the right amount of seasoning and everything in it. Then the next day you go and you get some, right, and it doesn't have quite the same taste it had the day before, but you know it's still good because you just made it. Right, yeah, don't let the enemy trick you into thinking that it went bad that quick. Now, the only way something would go bad that quick is if the vegetables that you used were already on their way out. In other words, close to expiration, if you will. And so that's why I know when I get ready to do green superfood, I pay attention to that. If I open up the broccoli and it's starting to look and then maybe has a little bit of a smell as if it's on its way out, I go ahead and cook it up. But I don't use it for juice, because I'll just eat it with the regular meal. Okay? Just to let y'all know, because that can happen. If we get a hold of a vegetable that's close to on its way out, it might not last a week. Okay? So, because a lot of time, they should last at least a week in the refrigerator. So there you go. The freshest, the better. It will last longer. So the autonomic nervous system relies on, well, it's dependent on our five senses. And so God had me think back, okay, so what are the things that when a baby is born, what are the things that haven't yet come together? Those five senses. Right? At least within the first 2 years. they're just now. I mean, yeah, of course, okay, the sight, the hearing, okay, but they don't know what it is they're seeing and hearing, right? They don't know what they're touching. They don't know what they're feeling. They don't. And then the taste of something, they're not real sure, right? They're all developing. Those senses have to develop first. Those senses have to develop first before the enemy can even try to manipulate the autonomic nervous system. So this is why God revealed to me that around age 3 is when we start to have that level of awareness of those 5 senses. So that's when the enemy starts to figure out what works to manipulate our ANS. And for me, the higher frequency, because of the hearing aid. Low frequency never bothered me. And they still don't. But the enemy tried to trick me into thinking that they do. But God took care of that. And so for some of y'all, that might be true too. And it may have been just the low and not the high. Because chosen one ANS could not get 100% manipulated. Why? God. That's why. Because he kept 50% of our brain out of that cognitive dissonance coma. Okay? That's right. He kept at least half of our brain out of the cognitive dissonance hypnosis. So we never did get put 100% to sleep. Glory be to God. I'm going to tell you, put that in the comments below. Glory be to God. The chosen ones never got fully put to sleep. God wasn't going to have that. So, that being said, I had to ask God, I'm like, okay, so I know that the ANS can heal because mine did heal before. It's healing again, just like during the detox, that's what's happening now, is our autonomic nervous system getting that chance to heal. Because it needs to. Because it is very childlike. Living in fear. Very childlike. It responds in anticipation of a perceived threat based on a movement, what have you. And so the enemy cannot begin to manipulate that until the child is aware of their 5 senses or starts to become aware of them. And so it was the higher frequencies for me that, right, as a child growing up, then teenager and things like that, how the ANS associated the fear response that the ANS remembers from childhood when seeing one of them little critters, right? Because I'm like sitting there going, why are you acting like that? I just get my flip-flop and I go splat. You know, so I'm like sitting here going, why is my ANS doing that? And so God revealed to me because that response was a longer conditioned response for at least a good chunk of my life until I started to mature and evolve and grow. I'm going to say maybe all the way into my early 20s. And then after that, I started to put the fear, a little slight fear of those away because I remember, wait a minute, them suckers are more scared of it. That's when I learned how to use a flip-flop. All right, and so I'm like, okay, but see, that's what's happening is because it remembers it, right? It's only going to respond how it remembers that it used to respond. Remember the ANS that lives in the past that way. And so what God revealed to me was, I said, okay, I know that during the first detox, he said, yeah, he said, your ANF got fully healed. And the enemy could see that with all the car videos we were doing and pumping out, how relaxed and laid back and, yeah, all that we were. So that's one of the many reasons why he had to take out the female that birthed me, right? Of course. For anyone who needs that reminder, for many of us, when we come on, right, and we get into our purpose and we start showing up on the world stage and the enemy realizes, they tapped into their full potential or working towards it. So the enemy's going to cause some chaos and drama. And that's what he was trying to do with me. In that last environment with all those oxygen tanks and all of that, the radio frequency being out of whack again, trying to re-traumatize my autonomic nervous system, the Jezebel case study, right? That physical assault. Okay, so that's exactly what the enemy was trying to do. But here's the issue. My subconscious is already awake. That's the thing, you all, is that when God awakens us and he awakens that subconscious mind, you're not going back to sleep. I don't care what the enemy tries. I'm a living testimony to that. Y'all are a living testimony to that. Because I went through the first go-around of detox and my ANF healed. All right? That autonomic nervous system did heal once and it's healing again. It's just this time I'm aware of it. And I'm bringing it to y'all. Because as you go through the detox, you're going to become aware of it too. And you're going to be able to take control of it. Because we can. That's what God revealed to me. He said it's just the first time I was not aware that my autonomic nervous system was responding a certain way in the other environment. It was too noisy. I was focused on figuring out what the heck I was to do with my life. Okay? Oh my gosh. I was just like, oh gosh, now what? So anyhow, this time around, I'm aware and I've got a notebook. So every time God reveals one of these things to me, I write it down because we're going, it's intense. It's intensive. All right, you also just, thank you for your patience, but we're bringing it. And how it is our inner child, because it can only respond the way it used to respond when we were younger and we did experience fear. Let's face it. Yeah, we don't know yet that perfect love casts out all fear at that time. So that's how the enemy was shot. Yes, because doing what she did to the backside, right? It just had the appearance. It just had the appearance of being tense. I'm here to tell y'all that I'm not. But it will look that way. Remember, the enemy, if you're not living in fear, he wants to see the appearance thereof. And so that's why during the beginning of the healing on the physical side of things for me, there was a little bit of dilation going on with my pupils because that gives off the appearance of living in fear. When, no. Because even after going and having to get cleaned up at her house and get my stuff, load up the car, I stay quiet most of the time. Except when she's like acting all shocked. Oh, you cut your hair. I'm like, oh, really? As if you didn't know I was going to have to. Okay. But all I said was, sure. I said, yeah. I said, God said, start over. He said, it won't come back thicker, stronger, and longer. That's all I said. Positive. But the back of my mind was like, yeah, as if you didn't know I was going to have to do that. That's exactly what you wanted. Because she was hoping to turn me into a short-haired, heavy-set version of her. You see, that didn't work. Okay. It never worked. What the enemy tried to a chosen one will never work. Trying to destroy our self-esteem and our healthy level of self-confidence. Once we get that stuff back and our subconscious is awake, that's it. Well, watch out. That's it. Chosen one, That's right. We fight. We fight the spiritual battle. It's a spiritual battle for the mind. But the enemy was hoping to re-traumatize my ANS. But God said, nope. We flipping this for God's glory and for educational purposes. Because I guarantee you, the things that I'm bringing to you, I have not read about in any textbook. It might be out there, but you could read about our anatomy and physiology and the biology, right? You can read all about this stuff. And so when I learned about the autonomic nervous system and how it responds to trauma, and I said, well, that makes sense because it is the ANS that is our threat detector, right? As far as a fear detector. Okay, so it has fear responses, which we know. But I said there's more to it. There's so much more to it. And that's what God's revealing to me to bring to y'all, because that way when you go through the detoxing of radio frequency and things like that, you're going to start to notice you get the locus of control of your muscles back. Circulation improves. So you're going to go through, yes. Because as your body is able to relax more, because that salt is stiffener, right? Excessive salt and heat actually serve as a stiffener on the inside of the body. So as we continue to detox and our body continues to relax, don't be alarmed if you experience it's kind of like a cycle. So let me share this with you all, because as I'm sitting there I'm doing some ANS reconditioning and disciplining, because it is our inner child. So I'm telling it to knock it off. I said, I've had enough of your childish behavior. So really, I did. That's what I did. I said, okay, autonomic nervous system, child, I want you to take a look around this apartment. I know you can see this is not the old house. So stop making association to that environment with the way that I move. We're talking to that thing like a parent. That's right. You can do that because it is. It needs to unlearn. It needs to let go. And so I've been doing that. Little exercises here and there with it. So it will stop responding to an illusion. The threat is gone. But it wants to relive that trauma. See, the enemy knows this about the ANS, y'all. Is that, it will continue to relive the trauma it associated if we're not aware of it. In a nice way, of course, right? Oh, I gotcha. But yes, you can. You have the power and authority from the Godhead on the inside to recondition your ANS. Because if it continues to respond stupid when there is no real threat, that's like, we ain't having it. Because all it does, it wants to stay tense, right? What happens with the tense? If it tenses up, that hinders proper circulation. Your body won't get the nutrients that it needs. So it's not only powerhouse nutrition season, it's also discipline the ANS season. Get it to stop acting up. Because we can see things as they are now. And so that's what I did. Same thing. And here, okay, a good example for you all. My kitchen sink. Okay. There's an activity that I engaged in the previous environment that the ANS perceived as a threat. Rightfully so, though, because frequencies, when they're out of range, is a threat to the autonomic nervous system, and it knows that. Okay, it knows that. We, at one time, weren't aware of that. Now we are. Because, see, that's what I'm saying, is that what the enemy tried to do, the enemy tried to re-traumatize my ANS, and you see now how it's backfiring on them. Because I'm getting to know it. Okay, and so y'all, I bring y'all this stuff because It's another chapter of getting control of ourselves. See, we got control of our emotion. We don't allow the poking and prodding, the chaos and drama. We don't allow it to get under our skin anymore. No. But this is another layer, another level of awareness, and another part of ourselves that we can get control of. Yeah. And so we've got to, because if we don't, it's going to continue to relive the trauma, which further hindered circulation, getting the nutrients. Remember, Colossians 2, verse 19, the closer to God, we are increasing with God. Nutritionally, spiritually, okay, yes, physically. Yes, and don't forget, God makes things happen on his time when the time is right. So yes, financially. But sometimes there's lessons that he needs us to learn before he'll... Well, yeah, we see it in the spiritual. Yeah, it's already in the spiritual. I know. I got the numbers. We're just waiting for it to show up in the physical. And God said that there's some things that we may need to learn. But my autonomic nervous system, before he'll on that. And also, real quick, if we are still in a toxic environment, God will hold back our blessing. Because he knows that negative spiritual thoughts can hinder, okay? Don't forget that important point. Okay, that's a spiritual truth. I was standing over here at the sink, right? And so I turned the water on, and it had that extension so I could pull it down and rinse the sink out, right? Because I had dumped a little bit of the residue of food, and so now I'm rinsing the sink out. And I felt the right side try to tense up, and I said, ha, 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 what you think you doing? I was like, yeah. I said, hold up a second. And so God said, well, the ANS is associating, because it can see, right, depending on our five senses, it can see the faucet. It looks familiar. It knows what it is. It can see that. It sees you turn it on. It can feel you turn it on. And it, right, because the faucet had an extension over the, right, same thing, to rinse out the sink. Because that's an activity I would engage in frequently in the other environment that the ANS knew was a frequency threat. And I didn't have these in that environment. Well, I had these in this environment. And so that's why I was like, I felt it and I stepped in. It's like God stepped in and said, what you think you're doing? And he told me that, and I was like, okay, all right. So it's not the same faucet. It's different. It has a whole different shape. It has a whole different turn up nozzle. It has a whole different button to switch the type of water. Okay, different. You know what I'm talking about. It has a whole different setup. Plus, it's a different sink. So I'm talking to this sucker, and I'm like, all right, ANS, I want you to take a good look at that faucet. That is not the same faucet that was in the other environment. This is a different faucet. I want you to look at the sink. This is not even the same sink. This is one big sink. I said, ANS, the sink in the other environment, it was a divided sink. It had two sinks, and it had a strainer for dishes in one side. I said, you don't see that in this sink now, do you? And, well, it wasn't long after that. Passed a little gas. Relax. I'm sharing that with y'all because it's part of the detox process for me, but also to help you all, because we have to take charge of that sucker. Because if we don't, it's just going to keep on reliving its trauma. And we're going to be figuring out how come it feels like we're at a standstill in this detox process, right? So yeah, I know it sounds funny, but we got to parent that sucker. That's the bottom line. Because that autonomic nervous system is our inner child. Note the word child. Because it lives in the past, and it's going to continue to relive all it knows. And so the other thing we do is we also Oh, I did that all morning. I said, I want you to take a good look at that shower. Because inside that shower, it would try to do that. I said, okay, Anna, I want you to take a good look. I understand that the shower and the toilet are in the same location as the other two threatening environments, but there's something different. Actually, there's a couple of things different. So I turned and I said, yeah, but in the other environment, in that place, where we didn't have these in, the faucet to turn on the shower was on this side of the wall, and it was down here. Now, in the last environment where we had to get cleaned up and chop off our hair, the faucet was on this side, but it was down lower. It's like I'm telling this child. All right, and I said, okay, take a good look. What else is different that those two environments had that this one does not? That's right, there's no bathtub. That is a standing shower. Again, a little relaxation. So that's how it's like we're not trying to yell at the ANS or anything like that. We're just saying, hey, I want to point some things out because this is not the same environment. Because they don't know that. I know. Hey. Yes, greetings, everybody. Hi, Jeremiah. Yeah. It will. You're welcome. Yeah, we to receive blessing from God, we have to. Yeah, we've got to make sure that we are not. It's where we live matters the most. So while I was even though God was sending some blessings in a lot of ways while still there, He's very picky. So it's not that God won't still bless. Okay, He wants to because He knows you'll keep it to yourself. All right, He knows that you're not going to go blabbing. So even while you're still there, He'll still do some blessing here and there. All right. But as far as the bigger blessing, He holds on to those until you're away from there because He knows that, right, that the evildoers in that environment would be a hindrance. Because even if they're not a physical hindrance, because you're free to come and go as you please, the spiritual hindrance being their thoughts. And so God's like, yeah, I'm not going to allow their negative thoughts to interfere. Okay, so that's how God works. So you're welcome for whoever needs that. He will hold back. And so another way that God will hold back on a blessing is until we learn something. Because I read a story where an entrepreneur shared that they made a good amount of money in a short amount of time online, and how they admitted it though, they held themselves accountable, how they basically one day woke up and realized they had to start again from scratch because they had been living a lavish lifestyle of this world. That's not being humble. That's not being humble. So that might be for somebody there. Okay? That we got to be humble. Right, after telling the ANS. Well, it is kind of funny, but yeah, we'll get back to that here in a minute. But somebody needs to hear this real quick because the way God blesses us. Again, when He sees that we're ready, but He may need us to learn that simple lesson of being humble. He needs us to stay humble, even if we are humble now, right? And we are. And so God's like, yeah, He says, I got a lot for you that we can bless others with. But there might be some things like that person's story to come across my feed so I learn a lesson. Okay. Because I know myself and that I would not do that. They'll say it's like, hey, God knows that I'm not just going to run right out and be doing that, because deep down, as chosen ones, I'm not impressed by that stuff in the first place, right? We're not impressed by glitz and glam. And we can care less about living the lavish lifestyle of the world. We can care less about that. Chosen ones tend to be more modest anyway, because we are. And so God just needs us to make sure that we stay that way. Because remember, the devil is a tempter, not God. God does not tempt. So whenever I'm sitting there, I'm going to share with you, I'm sitting there, and I'll think, you know what? I am tempted to go blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, but is that going to benefit or is it going to hinder? I'll stop and think about it first, because God's not the tempter. So we may say stuff like that because we do, like, well, I'm tempted to go for a steak tonight. Okay, that's not such a bad thing, because we can use the beef and the iron, right? Okay, that's not such a bad thing. But we want to go, well, okay, and that would benefit our blood type diet. But it's just a little bit more of, okay, well, what do I have on hand? Now, mind you, I get that sometimes we change our mind, we get to the store, and so we end up getting something else because we didn't take that out to thaw out. We're not talking about that. That's okay. That's acceptable. So, just note that. Exactly. That is so true. That there is no amount of money in this world that can buy peace and happiness. That comes from the Godhead only on the inside. And getting away from chaos and drama. Yeah, you can't buy that with money. You cannot buy God. God says, I'm not for sale. Let me put that in the comment. Say, God said, I'm not for sale. Because there ain't no amount of money that can buy that feeling of peace, joy, and happiness that's on the inside. That completeness. There's no amount of money that can buy that. No. So, good point. Exactly. God says, I'm not for sale. I like it. When God says, I'm not for sale. There you go. And we only get to him through Jesus, right? That's it. And so when we walk in to the room or our own place, and I remember when we did the dietary reset, and I got a basket over there, and I've got acorn squash, butternut squash, spaghetti squash, a couple sweet potatoes, a couple red onions, and some bananas hanging there. And I look at that and I go, And I feel God do a backflip. You cannot put a price tag on that. There is no price tag. Absolutely not. Because that's just God. Yeah, that's just God letting us know that this is how we're supposed to be living. So that's just confirmation from the Godhead on the inside when we're on the right track. So, and it goes with anything. A confirmation from God that we're on the right track whenever we feel him do a backflip on the inside. And so you can't put a price tag on that. That's right. God said, there you go. God says, I'm not for sale. Just as simple as me getting a notebook out. A fresh notebook. Well, I wouldn't say fresh. I've had it for a while, but I tore some stuff out that I don't need anymore. And so plenty of paper left in that notebook. And so when God started revealing things about the autonomic nervous system to me, he said, I want you to get that notebook. He said, I want you to write this down. Okay. All right. So I started jotting down the notes. Then God led me to a folder. He said, I need you to create a folder. Okay. And then he led me to a paper that I had typed up with notes about the ANF that I was going to do for a whole video. He said, He said, put those with your notes because we got more. I was like, oh, okay. So every time God reveals something and I go over there to pick up that pen and I go to write that note down, God does a backflip. That's what it feels like. That's that happiness. You ain't going to get that with no amount of money. You will get that by pleasing God. That's the Godhead on the inside. That's how you get that. That's right. And so the enemy thought that he could disturb that. Because I had a lot of those moments in the car video. And then I even had those moments going back and forth to the hotel. Because God knew that we were figuring some things out, analyzing, connecting dots. We were getting on live. We were coming back with more videos. We're getting back to work. We stayed busy. And so I would go and pick up something to eat. And it's like, okay, maybe not my blood type diet. However, we're free. So just walking into that hotel room, got to do a backflip. I'm like, all right. Even with all the other crazy stuff going on, as the body's trying to, starting to heal, and the ANS has to wake back up, even through all of that, still had. The enemy cannot destroy it. Once we've got it, we identify it, we know it's there. The enemy can't destroy that no more. So I just need y'all to understand that the closer you get to God, the stronger that relationship gets with God. No amount of distraction, attempts to thwart you off of God's path. None of that is going to work. Because God's always going to bring it back around full circle. Because he does. So as I share my testimony with you all on this particular season, where we're figuring things out now, okay, I see what the enemy trying to do. The enemy trying to re-traumatize the autonomic nervous system. And so now we get disciplinary with it. There you go. It just needs to be disciplined. It's a child. I would tell y'all, when God revealed that to me before getting on today, I was like, Because I'm like, how are we going to, I said, there's got to be other things that we can do, other than, the tip I gave y'all as far as creating more pleasant experiences for the autonomic nervous system, like in the shower. I got a couple of different body washes with pleasant smell. Okay, I hadn't done that in years, but because I get in there, and as soon as the ANF, without these in, as soon as it hears the click of the body wash container, as soon as it hears that click, it relaxes. So it's already made the positive association with that sound and seeing the bottle of body wash. So it's even me pick it up, but it doesn't make the association that that's the body wash, the smell good stuff. It doesn't make that association until I pop that lid up. Then it's like, oh, I know what she's doing. So it takes a little while though. Well, it didn't take long for that. So aside from that tip, to start creating more positive associations for the ANS, yes, we got to do that too. But also getting back to doing more things that you enjoy. That helps as well. So there was just one more. 1, 2, 3. Now it's complete as far as how we're going to recondition and help the ANS fully heal. So it's basically healing that inner child. Even though it's already healed the first time. And it still is healed on my end. It's just acting stupid. Because I did not go back to living in any kind of fear over anything. It's just the ANS doing the responses. And I am able to pay attention because we're aware. And I'm like, all right, let me pay attention to how it's responding to this movement or that movement or that location in this apartment or this. You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't make any, it does not make any negative association in the car. Nope. So, right. And so that's why God had me go ahead and reintroducing me to some frequencies that are in the normal ranges. A little at a time. And so it's really cool. This is another reason why you hear many of us out here telling you, like, I trust God's process. Trust God's process. Because that's right, it is all. Okay, so the three things to help that autonomic nervous system get unbrainwashed, if you will. Create more pleasant experiences. Remember, it depends on the five senses. So creating more pleasant experiences, not to please the flesh, but to calm the autonomic nervous system down. To let it know, oh, this is not a threat. All right? Like the body wash, the smell good body wash example. It makes the association with that sound. It knows I'm picking up a bottle, but doesn't know what it is yet until it gets open. So once it hears that, because it makes it pretty loud, click, so I can hear it without it. And it knows that sound in the shower now. So it's like, okay, we good. So simple things like that. And then, right, my mentor in spirit, her voice, God had me put that on in the car. And immediately it says, oh, I recognize her voice. She's got a nice voice. She can hear the Holy Spirit in her voice. So that's that. Getting back to doing more things that we enjoy. And then, yes, that's creating more pleasant experiences for the ANS. Then getting back to doing more things that we enjoy. And then the third one is to get disciplinary with it when it starts to act stupid for no reason. Because after all, okay, what happened to us when we were kids and we did something that we had to be disciplined for? Exactly. So remember when I said, Chosen One, how we kind of take on a parental role in society, not that we signed up for it? Well, that plays for the reconditioning and healing of the ANS as well. So I want y'all to know that, because, yeah, the simple stuff that you enjoy, that makes you happy, the ANS knows that, okay? It's familiar with those things. So there you go, drawing and painting. Yeah, because the autonomic nervous system operates based on memory. So it's going to respond the only way it remembers us, us perceiving things at a time in the past. So when we recognize, okay, hold up a second. For example, I've given y'all some, but I want to give you another one to help you put it in perspective. Let's see if I can think of Well, I had to tell it to take a good look at all these things that were not in the other environment that are in this environment. It's all different stuff. I had to tell it that as well. But the other example I have would be, going over to the sink. Yeah, going to the bathroom sink to start putting on my makeup. I've shared this before, but before I knew and the staples were still there, the titanium. And then I had a flawless brow, right? Okay, it didn't take me long to figure out, wait a second, what's going on? Because every day we're taking an assessment of our, it's been a while back. So I was like, okay, hold on a second. So I go to the sink and the lights are on and I'm using the flawless brow. And all of a sudden I feel the tension and then the circulation kind of gets a little funny. When prior to using that, right, we were fine. So that's how I was able to make that connection. The autonomic nervous system. Okay, so anytime after when I got rid of that thing, oh, I was like, man, I got to quit electrocuting myself. Okay, and so now even though the staples are gone, I don't use that thing anymore. It took a little while. I had to learn to turn that light off and go by flashlight. Okay, because I realized it was cooking my head. All right, so to get that to quit responding to this movement above the eye, right, I had to tell it. It had to get used to the fact that, oh, I had to put these in so it would know that there's no more electrocution taking place. So we're not doing it to ourselves anymore. And so over time, it had to disassociate this particular movement with that threat. So over time for that one, it just took a little time and repetition. But it also took putting an ice pack here and here. That helped a lot because with all that excessive salt on the inside, and then if it tensed up a little bit, that held the heat in. So I put the ice pack front and back. And so as I'm reconditioning and telling in the subconscious, telling that ANF, I'm just putting my makeup on. It's okay. I'm telling you, like a parrot, it's okay. It's all good. Because basically, when you think about it, you are talking to a scared child when you're talking to your ANF because it got conditioned to live in a little bit of fear over things. And so this is why I say when you talk to it, be disciplinary with it when it's acting stupid. But for other things like that was a little bit more, okay, yeah, you know what's going on there. Kind of like you have to gauge it. Be like, listen, this is all right. Everything's okay. Just like you would a little child. Let's say they fell down, they scraped their knee, and they're crying, right? And so you got to kind of like coddle them just a little bit. A little bit. So you're going to do that with the ANN for certain things as well during this process. And it works. What can I say? It works. Because it's God giving me the instructions. So I have to share them with y'all. For those of you who are going through similar things, because as you detox, that sucker's waking up. Yeah, he's saying, hi, you want to play today? All right, everybody. So there's that for the autonomic nervous system and a little bit of a lightening of it because it is very intense. It is deep. It's very intensive. And I highly encourage y'all to, don't hesitate to reach out if you've got questions. If you have an ANS response that you're like, hold up a second. And when you find the word to articulate it and you'd like to know what can you do about it or how are you moving? Take an assessment. How are you moving? What movement is it associating that response? You know what I'm saying? What is it? What are you looking at? Because see, the thing is, remember, our senses, right? So the ANS knows, okay, you're looking at the faucet, right? It knows you're looking at that. It recognizes, but it don't make the association of threat until you pull that lever and it sees water running. And then you pull that down and you start to, now it wants to try to act stupid. And so I had to tell it, hey, not the same faucet that was in the other environment. So things like that you'll become more aware of. It's all part of that heightened awareness. Because remember something. We become aware. That's when we can do something about it, which is what we're doing. By retraining and telling that ANS to knock it off. because our body, God did not design our body to live in tension like that. That tension is from trauma. God never intended for us to be living like that. That's from the enemy, because he wants to prevent our body from getting the nutrition that it needs for healthier living. Never forget that. All right, so there you go. And if you haven't seen it yet, on the Patreon channel, it is available now. There is a 0 to 50 milligram sodium guide to supplement the low sodium menu guide. All right, that's now available. Because during the detox process, you're going to lower your sodium intake just a little bit, because that's how the ANS starts to wake up. This is why we say it's slow and steady, as you will learn. Some of you already have. You'll learn in the course how to detox from trauma nutrition course. That course corresponds with the Patreon digital product line and the fact that we talk a lot about radio frequency poisoning and manipulation on the Patreon channel. So what I just gave y'all today is a little tidbit about the autonomic nervous system to help you. Okay, you're going to learn more about all of that. Yes, you will. Yes. There you go. There you go. The guide, yes. And I'm not sure. I want to say that the guides, I want to say that they're public. So, like, even if you're not a member of the Patreon channel, you should still be able to purchase it. If you find that to not be true, and they're only $15 a piece, y'all. They're not that expensive. I got pictures. That's right. That's why it takes me a little while to put these things together, because not only am I making the snack, smoothie, soup, what have you, okay, I'm also getting pictures, and I'm going into that. Okay, so yeah, it's a process. But I want to give these things to you all as a guide to get you started. And for those who have gotten started on the detox journey and you need some guidance, I mean, after all, I get it. That's why God has me doing this, to help you all along and to remind you all, slow and steady. Even if you're sitting down, I know you're going to be feeling better. And then you'll be like, all right, you want to jump up. Don't do that. Get up slowly. You have to learn to be more mindful, okay? So that you don't, exactly. You don't want to, yes, you don't have to. That's the thing. So remind yourself of that you don't have to move that fast. You don't want to move that fast in the detox. Even though God says, I know you're going to feel better, but you still got to be mindful and stay aware of what's happening during the process so that you go, okay, how you move and things like that. So it's all very, very important. Because like I said, the disclaimer that if it is more severe, go get the help you need. I'm not sitting here telling y'all to sit there. If the pain is persisting, please, all right, use your discernment, ask God. But most of those symptoms we experience during the detox are minor. They should be, okay, are minor things that we can utilize some self-care for. Chosen ones are smart. So there you go. The guide is on the shop page of Patreon. So that means it would be public, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll look into that a little bit, but I would say, okay, if it's on the shop page of Patreon, then that means it's public, and you all should be able to find it. So if you type in CHA's low sodium menu guide, it should pull up our product line that we're building. So that's my guess. All right, for those who are not members yet. All right, so that wraps this one up for today, y'all. Yes, absolutely. If you all want to hop on over there, okay. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Because all of the stuff that we're doing for you all is to help you along the way, okay? These are guides. Again, you can modify it and fine-tune and tweak, but it's just something that gets you through until we have more. Okay, and there is going to come a time during the process where God's going to have us increase and then decrease a little bit. Okay, so that our body, it's not a manipulation thing. It's God says, okay, today you can have a little bit more as our circulation improves, because if we are walking and working out and things like that, sodium is a necessary electrolyte. So don't forget that part too, and God will tell us. And then, for example, yesterday, he had me taking just a little bit more. Today, he has me backing it down. It's just the way God works, okay? And we listen to him too. He's the one that can guide our steps better than anybody through this. So there you all go. All right, thank you, and keep going. And don't hesitate to reach out with any question that you may have, even if you leave them in the comments on the replay. And I'll get to those as soon as possible. Yes, I am Michelle Dickey, your host for CHA's Let's Just Chat show, streaming on the YouTube channel, Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance, where trauma healing and spiritual growth are front and center while combating radio frequency poisoning for healthier living. Trauma healing and spiritual growth occur with God's wisdom, basic scientific facts, tried and true technique, and more here and at CHACademyBTBW.com. The link to the Academy is listed below. Some of y'all might need to copy and paste the link to view what CHACademyBTBW.com offers to help you level up your trauma healing and spiritual growth. Sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.